Happy Black History Month. Hello, everyone. My name is Denise Ochebo, and I am the founder and CEO of the Career Mompreneur. On this week, our topic will be on marriage and finances. We are approaching Valentine's Day, and I feel like this is a great topic for not only married couples, but also couples that may be in a serious relationship or someone who desires marriage in the future. Today's topic is going to be on the 6 marriage killing money issues. So I'll be going over several issues that we hear about money, finances, and marriage, or money, finances, and relationships. And what are those 6 money issues that could be killers and even damaging to a relationship or a marriage? So let's dive in. So as we all know, arguments can hamper marriage. Today, there is a stat that states 2/3 of marriages arguments are around finances and money. Hence, the leading cause of divorce is finances. So, as many may know, there are a lot of challenges that can actually start before you say, I do. So, to help you pave the road of a better marital finances and relationships, today I would like to discuss some key money issues and help identify ways that you can solve those issues, whether you're married or in a relationship. So number 1, what's mine, yours, and ours? Sometimes when each spouse work, they can't sometimes agree on financial issues or take the time to talk about them, sometimes prior to marriage or even after marriage. And sometimes this can result in couples deciding to just split the bills down the middle. So 50-50. You pay this amount, I pay that amount. And that's how we'll handle our finances. But when bills are covered and split down the middle, each spouse has an allocated amount that they're paying for, and then whatever's left over, that spouse can use under their own discretion or however they would like to utilize it. But this can cause several issues in a marriage and a relationship. 1, this process can build a resentment over individual purchases that's being made. It can also divide spending power. So you're not eliminating how much financial value is put on the marriage, but if one person is spending more versus the other, that person may feel like they're in complete control over the way that money and finances are being evaluated in the home. And this can cause issues, power issues. Also with bill splitting, it pushes down the road any planning and building about how financial burdens will be handled if one spouse loses a job. So you may decide to cut back on hours or take time off to switch careers. For women, maybe take time off to raise children. And therefore, the financial burden may fall on your husband or significant other or partner that you're in the relationship or marriage with. And therefore, the whole objective of bill splitting may not work during that time. Couples owe it to themselves to have a conversation about such contingencies, such as one leaving their career or the workforce, or just taking a stint time leave of absence. They owe it to themselves to really discuss, like, what are the contingencies and how would this impact their current lifestyle that they're living today. And it's important to have that discussion before you get married or before you go down that path of a serious relationship, because when these things happen and it's not talked about or effectively communicated about, it can cause tremendous financial stress to both partners involved. Number 2, debt. So from student loans to car loans to credit cards or whatever debt you may have, most people come to the altar with financial baggage. If one partner has more debt than the other, or if one partner is, say, for example, is debt free, the sparks of the whole honeymoon phase and, oh, I'm excited that I'm married now, I have a lifetime partner, that can all go out the window when you factor in income, spending habits, and debt that an individual may have. So people in such situations may take some solace in knowing that debt brought into marriage normally stays with the person who incurred the debt. But in certain states, say like common law states, debts incurred after marriage jointly are owed by both spouses. So that debt is the debt of the marriage for both spouses involved. I think it's important to note that there are several states, actually 9 states, in which property and debts are shared after marriage, regardless of individual or joint accounts. And those states are Arizona, California, Nevada, Idaho, Washington, New Mexico, Texas, Louisiana, and Wisconsin. In these states, community properties state that you are liable for most of your spouse's debt that was incurred before marriage, but also any debt incurred after the wedding. It's important to know that, because most people think, okay, we're accumulating debt. This is my spouse's debt, not mine. But in these states, the debt is the debt of the marriage in common law states. The next thing to remember or think about is number 3, personality. So personality definitely can play a big role into finances in a relationship or marriage, just based on habits on money. So for example, if both partners say are debt free, the age-old conflict between spender versus savers always come up. If you know one person to have more of a personality where they're just a natural saver, they may be viewed as a cheapskate, very frugal, don't like to spend money, very, very tight. These are maybe things or characteristics that you give that person who's just a natural saver. And then on the opposite end, you have the person that just is a spender. They naturally love to shop, buy things. You hear most time people call them as like, they love the luxury life. They like expensive things. Whether they can afford it or not is a whole nother topic. But you have savers and you have spenders. And then you also have investors who are individuals that may like delay today's satisfaction for future self-sufficiency. So they like to invest in assets. They like to invest in things that will grow in the long term. So they don't care about like having the latest or the best of the best today. They prefer to wait for gratification from different things that they invest in at a later date and time. Many of us display one or more characteristics of money personality. Whichever profile you and your spouse most closely see fit, it is best to recognize those money habits, also address them. So sit down and have a conversation about them, and then moderate them. So discuss what changes or flexibility you want to allow in the relationship or marriage when discussing money habits. Number 4, power plays. So power plays often occur in one of 4 scenarios. So the first power play is, for example, one partner has a paid job and the other doesn't. Number 2, both partners would like to be working, but one is unemployed. Number 3, one spouse earns considerably more or better than the other. And then number 4, one partner comes from a family that has money and the other doesn't. So when one or more of these situations are present, the money earner or the one who makes the most or have the most money often wants to dictate the couple's spending priorities. Although there may be some like rationale behind this whole idea, it is still important that both partners cooperate as a team. And also keep in mind, even though while you may have a joint account which offer greater transparency and access, it is not in itself a solution to an unbalanced power/money dynamic in a marriage. especially, and even sometimes in a relationship, but definitely in a marriage. Number 5 is children. So most couples have to decide to have them or not. This is usually the first question that couples discuss, whether they're in a relationship or when they get married, is their desire to have or not to have children. Food, clothing, shelter, little league, ballet, swim lessons, prom, minivans, college are all a part of child-related expenses. Also childcare. These don't include expenses for offspring that have already left the nest. So like if you're an empty nester now and all your kids are adults and out of your house, you may still have expenses that you need to account for that adult child that you have. And that's only assuming if your kids leave the nest, because some children don't. They stay with their parents forever. But of course, having kids isn't just about the cost. If one partner, say for example, cuts their hours, get laid off from a job, leave a career to raise children, couples should always sit down and talk about how these dynamics change their marriage, but also and make assumptions about retirement and the lifestyle that they want to have. Because when you make such a change, it is a huge change, not only to you yourself that's making the change, but to the entire family nucleus. So your spouse, your children, the type of lifestyle you want to live, the type of home you live in, the type of car you drive, all of those things are impacted. And then number 6 is the extended family. So co-managing finances and respecting the goals and needs and expectations of each other's extended family can sometimes be very tricky, especially when you get married. For example, say your spouse mom, doesn't have a place to live and now needs to live with you and your spouse. And now you have to factor in the cost of living, taking care of your mother-in-law, making sure you have a house that's big enough to house them. So there are expenses that you have to factor in, and the conversation may be around, is this from the joint account? Is this expense that me and my spouse are responsible for, coughing up and taking care of for our mother that needs to now live with us? Or is this just the one spouse who's responsible for that? So these are conversations you always need to have. And of course, family money dynamics can work also the opposite way, where your spouse, so like say his mom will pay to fly like home for the holidays, or she may need money for a new car. Say for example, she's driving a Honda and now she wants a Lexus, so she may expect her adult children to contribute to that fund. So this of course impacts your expenses, and a conversation that you need to have sit down with your significant other and have in marriage, and even prior to marriage. How do you want to handle financial expenses around extended family? So next, I'd like to talk about how to handle money issues in marriage. So one of the things that is essential to any marriage is communication. Sitting down and having an open and honest line of communication with your spouse is critical, especially around your finances. Most people don't like to talk about finances, but if you don't, it can lead to divorce. And you don't want to wait until it's so bad that it's really hard to rectify and you're on the verge of a divorce. So sit down, have an open conversation with your spouse. Also, couples should show empathy. So having the maturity to check your ego, your pride, and your idea of who's going to control what when it comes to money and finances is something that should be checked at the door. Like, you're a team. Once you're married, you're a team. You're one unit. You need to operate as a team and as a unit. Even when you're engaged and in a relationship prior to marriage, money conversations are critical and very, very important, because once the honeymoon stage is over, bills have to be paid. And unfortunately, love don't pay bills. So you definitely need to discuss finances and make sure you sit down and have that honest conversation. Also, next, deal with debt. For many couples, dealing with debt is often the first issue on the agenda that pops up, whether it's in a relationship or marriage. But knowing what you're about to get yourself into is very helpful before you get married. So sit down, talk about your debt load, talk about your spouse debt load. Also, pull your spouse annual credit report and your own, and sit down and have a conversation. For me, this was something that was very important prior to me getting married, was sitting down with my spouse and discussing our credit score, discussing what's on our credit, discussing our debt, because you need to have those conversations before you go into marriage, so you know exactly from a financial perspective what you're walking into. Of course, for some, it may be a deal breaker and some it may not, but having a clear idea of what the financial picture look like for each person individually helps you better plan as a joint unit once you get married. Also, know your financial personality. Again, as I discussed earlier, think about, are you a spender? Are you a saver? Have that conversation with your significant other about your spending habits, about your saving habits. Discuss your goals. When you get married, of course, you have like financial goals that you're looking to accomplish, or whatever goal it may be. There's going to be a dollar amount tied to that goal. So you need to align and discuss all goals with your spouse. How you plan to reach the goal, what would the financial impact be, who's going to contribute and how much, what percentage on a monthly basis, weekly basis, whatever it is, you need to have that conversation. And then also check your ego. So as I mentioned before, power play, that's a big thing, especially once you get married. Coming into a marriage, most times, depending on how you grew up, you hear that the man is the provider. They're the one that take care of the family financially. And then you have situations where women are actually the provider. Their husband may lost their job, or their husband may be in between careers. So that woman may be the breadwinner for a temporary moment. So it's important to really check your ego. The power play issue can get very ugly pretty quickly. Few things, can build up to resentment faster than you actually feeling inferior. If you got more cash and you need to be sensitive about how you present that and your spending decisions, make sure you take that into account when you're talking to your partner. Don't belittle your partner because of where they may be financially, but have an honest conversation. Have an honest conversation about your concerns around them being an overspender or saving, too much for things that may not be advancing the family or the children. Whatever the case may be, make sure you check your ego and put pride at the door, because that's not going to get you anywhere if you're focused on your power and, oh, I'm the man, or, oh, I'm the woman, or, oh, I am the breadwinner. I mean, you're a team at the end of the day. So being able to work together and accomplish financial goals is critical. And then the last point is just address family matters. So as I mentioned before, all happy families are alike. So when it comes to how you want to divvy up finances and money for in-laws, relatives, whether it's your spouse's sisters, brothers, cousins, nieces, nephews, whatever, or the opposite, make sure you have that conversation around how your finances will be divvied up to help extended family members. That's important. And if you don't remember anything else, just remember communication is key. Sitting down, having that conversation, and you don't have to wait to marriage. Have this conversation while you're dating. When I was dating, I had this conversation. So by the time it was time for marriage, I had a clear idea and picture on what I was walking into from a financial perspective. Because one thing I believe is, the more honest you are about your financial situation, the easier it is to come up with solutions to overcome financial hurdles you may have. And of course, if you need professional advice, please reach out to a financial planner. You have the Career Mompreneur. As I stated, we're a financial coaching and planning business. We're here to help you. We're here to help couples. We're here to help singles, individuals, women, men by referral, whatever your situation may be. Make sure you reach out and get the professional help that you need. And a financial planner may be that missing piece that you need just to get you back on track, to get your marriage heading in the right direction. financially, because as I stated in the beginning, the number one leading cause of divorce is finances. And I believe this is something that can be fixed if we just have conversations, if we get the professional help that we need. And if you need it, please check out www.thecareermompreneur.com. And we look forward to working with you. Thank you.